Hello everyone, welcome to our today's session. This is our fourth session, that is the UX Studio GDG Chuka Tech Track session. And today we are going to look at user research. So, in our previous session, we looked at an introduction to Figma, what Figma really is, and creating some low fidelity wireframes using Figma. And yeah, we also did some hands-on session with uh, GDG members. That is in our physical session. And today we are going to look at user research. So now, with that said, I think we can proceed with what really is user research. So before we begin with the definitions, uh, for today's session, uh, we're going to understand why user research matters and know the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, and also learn how to conduct simple user interviews so as to get an overview of what users really need, and also to identify challenges uh, and assumptions. So that is it for today. So these are the things that we're going uh, to understand and know and learn. So let's begin. So now, why do we need user research? Why do we really need user research? So the biggest mistake in terms of UX that one can make is uh, designing products based on personal opinions, uh, driven assumptions, and even what you think is right from your own point of view. And this one oftentimes lead to designs failing, because designers now, if they take designing like that way, it results to designing what they think works for them instead of what works for the user. And that's all about uh, that's the entire point of having user research, so that you can be able to know what works for a user, and what really does the user need uh, in a certain product. So yeah, that is the biggest UX mistake a designer can make. That is designing based on I think it works, um, assuming some scenario for a user instead of going out there and actually uh, going out there and actually speak to the user or interview the user and see what they expect or what they want. Yeah. So with that, I think we can go to the why user research matters. So user research usually helps us to understand real problems, problems that users are facing, so that you can so that you can design so that you can design something that users uh, will enjoy using. Apart from enjoy using, something that will solve the user's problem at hand efficiently and effectively. Then user research also matters because it usually avoids wasting time. Remember, if you design with assumptions and then you proceed to actually creating a product, uh, you might you might notice that users are experiencing friction while using the product, and as a result, and as a result, users will you'll have to go back to the draw board and start over again and look at the friction that uh, the users are facing, and that will take a lot of time. So that is also another thing that makes user research important. The other thing that makes user research important is it reduces work um, from entire process of going back, re-strategizing, and then coming up with something that is refined, it's tiresome. It's another process. So, and that process could have been easily eliminated with user research, because when you perform user research, most of the time, usually end up with a product that satisfies users. The other reason is designing with confidence without, you know, when someone reaches out and asks, why do we have this? Why do we have this? You know the reason. You had these users, you interviewed these users, and yeah, you talk to them, ask them. Maybe you had a prototype with you, and requested them to use it and give you feedback on it, and they gave you feedback on it. Maybe saying there's a button they saw somewhere, it's not. They really don't understand what it does or something like that. It will make you, um, revise on that and come up with a design that really works. And when someone reaches out to seek to understand your design, you'll be, yeah, this is what this component or this feature serves in this product. So yeah, that is uh, why user research matters. So research uh, replaces guessing with evidence, and without research, like I said earlier on, there will be fiction. So sorry, you'll design fiction. Sorry, and of course there will be fiction. Friction when you use that product or when a user uses that product, because if you design based on assumptions, then yeah, you won't have uh, 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 you won't have a product that satisfies the users like efficiently or how it should at its optimal level. And without research, we usually tend to imagine users, their pain points, their needs, without actually going out there and do that. And we assume needs for these users, what they really need. Okay, when they visit that product, some other platform, what do they really need? And we also solve wrong problems as a result of imagining the user's needs and also assuming the user's needs. And as a result, good UX usually starts with, you know, going out there and listening to users, uh, providing them with your wireframes, and so that they can test them out and give you feedback. Yeah, and that is usually the way to go. If that is not perfection, then I think that will be that will be designing without actually, putting the users first. And in our first session, we talked about UX, UI design focuses on putting users first, and when you do that, you will have nailed the problem. So moving on to now, we have heard about users here, users there. Who are these users? So users are uh, these individuals who are going to use a product designing, and these users usually have goals when they visit a product, let's say a website, let's say um, uh, a human resource website or platform that, yeah, manages employees and other stuff. So when an organization reaches out to this or visits this platform, they'll have goal. They expect this platform to be able to manage its employees effectively and efficiently without friction. Yeah. Then users also have, these constraints, and yeah, sometimes users are these people who are under pressure to do something. Maybe you want to you're visiting a tool out there online to be able to draft an email quickly and then send to someone. And say uh, you need to send an email in 5 minutes and you haven't even composed it yet, and you visit that site that creates emails. Yeah, you just need to look for a place where you're going to prompt it to uh, give you the end result. And then you copy it, you paste it to email, and then you just send it to where you're supposed to send it. So sometimes users are usually these people. Yes, of course, they have goals, they have constraints, and sometimes they're usually pressured to do something with the product that they're designing for. So these are what we refer to as users. Now, we've talked about users. What are users? Now, what are not users? Or what can we classify as not users? For our case, us ourselves, we are not the users, we are the designers. The developers are also not considered to be users. And also the stakeholders are not, but not always, but yeah, most of the times they're not regarded as users. Users are people who are going to use that product, like yeah, and although stakeholders might use that product, or yeah, they may use that product, they're kind of secondary because they okay, they are few, and they just may agree to whatever you're designing. Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, so that is what we regard to as not users in this case of user research. So now, uh, we didn't even talk about user research or the definition of user research. So before we get into types of user research, uh, so user research, think of it as the process of getting to know people you are designing for, so as you can be able to build something that they actually need, you know, and will enjoy using it, effectively with minimal or no friction at all. So that is user research, and the reason as to why, like I said earlier, the reason as to why we usually conduct user research is to know what we should build, like finding a real problem to solve, and also how should we build what now that now that we have reached a point where we know what you're actually building, how should we build it? Making sure that this design is easy to use. There is no friction, or yeah, minimal friction. It makes the users enjoy using this product. So that is the second reason as to why we need user research, to know how we should build what is required. And the last one is, of course, know whether uh, you the product is, it's ready in terms of, yeah, it has done what it's supposed to do, or it has met the criteria of doing what it's supposed to do. So here I usually check if the final product actually work. Does it work as intended? Uh, does it does it meet users needs? If that is true, then the design will have succeeded, and yeah, user research will have been followed properly. So, and yeah, that is user research. So now we have two categories of user research. We have the qualitative and the quantitative. So the qualitative, the qualitative one usually focuses on why, like to understand people's feelings, thoughts, and frustrations, and yeah, it usually talks about why and the how, the aspect of why and how, basically. So, and the quantitative one usually talks about how many and how often. Yeah, although they are distinct, but they usually work hand in hand. So they usually both matter. And we're going to look deeper into them, starting with qualitative research. So, qualitative research, it usually focuses on, like I said earlier on, its main goal is to understand people's feelings, thoughts, and frustrations, yeah, by answering the question why. So, examples of such kind of research is, you know, when you're doing user interview, that is asking a user like whether they found a feature in prototype confusing, or yeah, let's say even a button confusing. Yeah, that is one kind of qualitative research. Another one can be usability testing, like when you're watching a user try to complete a task and hearing them, thinking out loud as they struggle, something like that. So yeah, and also observation, observing users to see whether they're getting confused, or they're experiencing friction while using the app, or the product that you're working on. So that is usually qualitative research. That is usually for quantitative research. Let's go to mm, quantitative research. So for quantitative research, it's usually about measuring facts and seeing how many people are doing something at a large scale. Okay, it usually focuses on numerical data and patterns at a large scale. Think of it as a research that focuses on numerical data and patterns at a large scale. So, what does it look like? So, in the case of qualitative research, um, you collect data from hundreds of people, or more than that, and even collect it from thousands, millions of users. So you collect data from a number of users using, statistics, and then from there, you analyze it. You analyze those facts. So let's say um, you're building an e-commerce, and you find out that some users, let's say like 50% of the users usually leave that e-commerce at the checkout page where they're supposed to pay. And yeah, that is an example of quantitative research, looking at those figures and understanding why they they actually left, in that case of users leaving at a certain point in time in the website. So another example is usually um, surveys, and another one is something to do with I think A/B testing also falls under this. So for example, you might want to show different button colors to, like, let's say 100 people, and then see who one get more clicks, or yeah, in the case of maybe a social media one, which one gets more likes, and from that you'll be able to get summary of this data, and a hard evidence of what really is happening. So yeah, that is the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative research answers the question why, and quantitative research usually answers the question what, like, what, and one deals with people's feelings, thoughts, and frustration. Another one deals with numerical data. So that is the core definition of the two. So now, when should you use qualitative research, and when should you use quantitative research? So qualitative
research is used when exploring a problem. Let's say you want to find out what is like. Let me use the same example I used earlier on. Say you want to find out about the workflow of a product. So you head out and look for users who are willing to, you know, get into an interview with you, and then yeah, use your prototype and yeah, give you feedback. So if you want to get the feedback from the users in that kind of scenario, then that is considered to be a qualitative research. Another instance where qualitative research is used is when understanding behavior, users' behavior. That is, what do users do when they reach a certain point in this product or something like that. So now that is about qualitative, uh, when to use qualitative research. So now, when do we use quantitative research? So we use quantitative research when we want to validate patterns. These are just a few examples, but there are more into that. There are more. So there is validating patterns and also measuring impact. We've talked about uh, why do 70% of or 50% of users uh, leave at the checkout page of an e-commerce website. See, so if you want to know why, or if you want to get the data of these people who are doing that, who are doing that action, then you need to take quantitative approach, kind of research. So then another thing that is important to note is that in UX, qualitative always or often comes first. Yeah, you need to start with the qualitative so that you can answer the question why, then you move on to when. It's always good to know why, the why part of a problem before moving on to the when. So UX interviews. So this is also one of the goals of today's session. So uh, what are okay UX interviews? They help understand, the user's need. Think of it, okay, it's just like any other interview, but now in our case, it's more of a product oriented. That is, you understand what challenges users are facing with the current designs that you have, or wireframes, or yeah, hi-fi designs, before you finalize on everything, and yeah, and other things that users might face. So these interviews usually help us and understand um, context, uh, in terms of like what is the user like facing. Then they also help us hear real stories from the users themselves, and then also discover hidden problems. Because when designing a product, you might uh, you might assume that people are going to know what this is used for, but when you go to an interview with a user who uh, who would like to use that product that you are developing, and conduct an interview, you'll get to understand, or you'll get to see these problems that you overlooked initially, or you didn't see them coming. So yeah, so that is it about UX interview. So a good interview, okay, a good interview, of course, a good interview should have questions and feedbacks. So, and for the questions, the questions that are usually found in good interviews are usually open-ended. They are not tied to something. They usually just you can answer it you can even add points. You can answer it in any format, because yeah, tying it to a specific kind of answer, like let's say a yes or no, won't give you all the results. Let's say in the case of you know, asking a user whether they found a feature confusing. If they just say yes, and they tell you a button, and they don't tell you like more about it, you'll just know that yeah, there's a problem with this button, and this user has experienced that problem, and yeah, it has closed at that point. You don't get more. So yeah, the questions should be open ended. Like they should not be constrained to a yes or no kind of answer, so that you can get uh, these these feedbacks that are, you know, deeper, and yeah, that will help you understand really what the users really want. So good questions also focus on past behaviors, and they encourage storytelling. uh, so these questions, most of them usually start with why, so that you get to know even more about that. And an example of a question is a good question is, as you can see on the screen, there is this question here. Tell me about the last time you did something. What did you do? How did you do it? See, what did you experience? Was it good? Yeah, that question is open-ended. You can provide as much detail as you can gather at the time. So, yeah, those are the characteristics of good interview questions. So now we've looked at good interview questions. What about bad interview questions? There are also bad interview questions. Bad interview questions are those like the ones that you know, they kind of lead the user to a specific answer, and they usually ask for opinion only without the why part of it. Like, do you think it's good? Yes, then ends there. There's no why. And they also suggest solution directly without actually identifying the problem and the why part of it. An example of such is uh, this one here. Would you like would you like it if this one leads the user and even asks for the opinion. Would you like it if we had the button blue? Now the user is required to respond with a yes, and yeah, that is his or her own opinion. And usually most of the time doesn't get past there, like yes or no. It just ends with a yes or a no. And that is an example of a bad interview question. So uh-huh. So another thing we should look at is the interview mindset. So during interviews, uh, one is required to listen more than they talk. Then one is also required to avoid defending ideas, so that you can get to know like possibilities from actually the users who are going to use that product, the possibilities of other ideas, and asking some why questions in a good way, or in a yeah, in a better way. You know, there are some questions that when you ask why, it sounds as if you're rude. So you need to ensure that they don't come up as, you know, rude kind of questions. Yeah, yeah, that's about interview mindset. So, like you've said, you need to listen more than you talk. You need to avoid defending ideas and ask the why questions in a gentle kind of way. And something you need to expect is silence. Sometimes when you ask some questions, you know, people tend to be like, let me process this first. And as a result, they end up staying silent for some time. And yeah, they can just say sometimes I didn't see anything, or they'll respond much later. That's okay. It's good to let users think about the question and yeah, internalize it, because you don't want to get an immediate answer that doesn't that is not that detailed, or doesn't actually express that pain point from the user's point of view. So yeah, now we talked about assumptions. These are characteristics of bad UX. So now, how do you avoid assumptions, or yeah, how do you avoid assumptions? So now, what do assumptions sound like? Assumptions, they they sound like this. So you have this one here. Students don't care about schedules. So when a designer or when a developer says something like this, then these are their own opinions. And remember, earlier on we said users are not designers or developers, because they sometimes overlook some things that users can find be challenging. Another one is like everyone checks WhatsApp. Let's say you're designing a scheduling app, and you're like, yeah, everyone checks WhatsApp, so there's need for WhatsApp. So and you haven't gotten that from the user. So if you don't get information from the user and assume it, then it's just an hypothesis. It's and most of the time it's usually uh, a null kind of hypothesis. So it's usually not a fact. Most of the times it's not a fact. So some common UX assumptions are: users tend to get lazy, users are users are stupid, users will figure it out on their own, or yeah, they'll of course know this feature. It's not hard to know this icon, what it's used for. And the reality on the ground is usually the users don't know. The users, they won't figure out a certain workflow that easily. And some users are under pressure. So although they know, but they want to get something done immediately. So they need a workflow that has minimal or no friction. And yeah, these are common assumptions that uh, UX UI designers make. So now there's also something interesting about assumptions. So you can turn assumptions into questions, and this one is allowed. So instead of assuming something, you can just turn it into a question. As you can see on the screen, we're having instead of students want instant updates, instead of assuming that, you can go ahead and ask a student, how do you currently find updates? So that you can know how do they. Is it through a timetable? Is it through WhatsApp? Is it through uh, Discord? Or yeah, is it through they just go to the timetabling department and check? Or yeah, how do they really get the updates? So instead of assuming they usually want instant updates, you you rephrase it into a question and go ahead and actually ask that question. So yeah, this is one way of turning. Actually, this is the way of turning assumptions into questions. So now about turning assumptions into questions. You've talked about qualitative and quantitative research. You've talked about what is user research. You've talked about users. Now we haven't talked about, or yeah, we haven't talked about what research will help us discover, or yeah, what I think we should rephrase this to what research helps us discover. So with user research, you can be able to figure out additional workflows in a product. Let's say uh, you're designing maybe, let's say, something like uh, 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 an e-commerce platform, and you go and ask the user, let's say that plus that plus platform is focused on, selling and also delivering gas. So gas cylinders, that is. So when you go out there and ask users what they're currently facing, or the current system they use to get gas and actually deliver to their homes, you'll get to know like the workflow itself. And as a result, you'll get to know some additional things that you might have overlooked, maybe when you are trying to come up with the core workflows in the system, or which ones will be in the system. Yeah, and that usually helps a lot, so that you can be able to uh, understand like uh, most of these workflows and how they will integrate to the platform. And as a result, it will save you much time later on, because you don't have to go back, rethink, and re-strategize. Yeah, so that is one thing that user research can reveal. The other thing that user research can reveal is workarounds, or yeah, some shortcuts to doing something. So uh, for this, let me think of an example. Hmm. So for instance, when you have an e-commerce platform, the same platform, in the landing page, instead of saying get started, something like that, you can just have buy this at this price. And then when they click, they just go direct to that, if that is what is offered. Instead of them clicking, going through all that process, get started, yeah, they just go directly to what they want. And that one is a workaround. That is what an example of a workaround. So also reveals workaround. And it also reveals frustrations that users face. In the case of how an example that was given in workaround, some users usually find it, frustrating to go to the landing page of a, let's say, of an e-commerce, and they just click on that get started, then they sign in or sign up, then now they get to the home page where they can search for a product they are looking for, and now they can check out that product. Instead, if it's focused to maybe one product, or yeah, one category of product, you can just have it directly in the home page, and yeah, buy it at this price, or and then you add a get started for those who want to join. But for those who want to just directly buy, then they can just directly buy by clicking on the button, and then yeah, they'll get to go through a workaround kind of workflow. It will reduce frustration that comes with having to having to follow these multiple steps, creating an account everywhere, yeah, something like that. So that is also another thing user research helps with, and it also helps with getting to know some user needs that are not like met. Let's say you're creating an app, for yeah, you're creating an app for note taking, and you figure out yeah, you figure out it uses voice, and you reach out to a user, and yeah, have an interview with them, and they tell you, sometimes I find myself recording something, and I need some notes, recording a video instead of an audio, and they need both. They need both the video and the audio. And you're like, yeah, that can be a really good feature. Why don't we also include it here? And without the user, you couldn't have gotten this. And it's like a pressing issue to that user. Maybe that user wants that included in the product. So through user research, you can also discover some unmet needs, or some needs that they sound good to have, or that they'll really bring an impact when you look at them from a zoomed out point of view. So now through this, uh, uh, you get to have products that are
continuous process, by the way. It's not a one-time kind of thing and then you figure out everything. Yeah, that's why you'll see tools like VS Code. They keep on adding new features here and there. Yeah, back in 2022 they didn't have that Copilot that interface, but now it does. Now it has agentic AI, which you can just have an AI code. Instead of you doing the code, you just do the prompt, and then you just ensure that everything is in place. And that didn't exist before, but VS Code existed before. You see, it didn't have those features. Those features were nice to have features that would really impact VS Code and other IDEs. And as a result, uh, yeah, they pretty much help. They're usually helpful. And how did they get to know this? Uh, they're user interface designers and the user experience designers, so that AI can be used for this, or it's now it's now booming and it's used for this. Why don't we have it in the VS Code or in the IDE itself? And as a result, they went ahead and you know conducted research with some developers, asked them uh, the, their views on something, or yeah, they just asked them whether they really want something like that. And yeah, I'm sure they also had some prototypes with them. They gave it out to some developers and they tested it out and they were like, yeah, this is a really good thing. And now it's out here. So that's why I'm saying it's not optional. You just have to do it, and it's usually like it's not a one-time thing. You have to do it over like repeatedly throughout a product's life cycle. So, and then it's not usually that complicated. I mean, you don't have to okay, sometimes it can get complicated, but you don't have to make it complicated. And then it's not usually academic. It's just for getting to know what really do users want. So, and yeah, it's simply listening before designing. You just head out there, you listen to what users have to say about this product, or what the users think it might solve, the problem it might solve for them. And yeah, before you start designing any feature or any product from scratch, that is. So and I think that's it for today's session. So for today, we've talked about user research. We've talked about what user research is all about, types of user research. We have talked about users themselves. We have talked about assumptions in depth. We have talked about interviews. Uh, yeah, and we've also talked about what user research can reveal. And we've looked into that. We've I've gotten to see some insights on, yeah, user research. And as a result, I think it will be good if you head out there, if you have any idea about a product, and ask people who might want to use it, like what they think about it. And yeah, you can even go as far as, working on what you have in mind, coming up with some prototypes here and there, and giving them to the users to test them out and see and give you feedback on what they experience about the prototype. And yeah, you'll get to understand it deeper and know more about it. So so now we have come to the end of this session.